All right, today we're going to be looking at the Kawasaki Versys 650. This one, 2009, with a few options on it. SV, Motec, engine guards. It also has the Denali lights for auxiliary lights. It has hand guards, and it has a luggage rack, as well as Givy luggage for the side and a Givy V46 top case. Cool thing about this top case, it also has the backrest installed for the passenger, which is amazing for the passenger just to be able to lean back a little bit and have something soft back there. Gives them a little bit more feeling of stability, whether it's in the head or whatever, but it does help the passenger just feel a little bit more secure on the bike, and that's nice. So some things about this, or any of the Versys 650s, is they are the ultimate all-arounder bike. They are awesome for commuters. When people ask me, hey, I'm looking for a commuter bike, what should I get? I'm thinking about GSXR 650. They think about all these different bikes. They miss the Kawasaki Versys 650. The Versys 650 and the Ninja 650 are sort of the ultimate workhorse motorcycles for commuting. They are fantastic. The Versys, because of the seating position, you're upright, your feet are just a little bit in front of you, and you can see up over, you're tall enough that you can see up over all the cars. It's really awesome. We've installed the Cinco 705 tires on this. A great sort of dual sport tire, more oriented for the street. You can see because they're rounded more than squared, but they do really great on the dirt roads. Really fantastic. This tire actually is an evolution of a tire that was one of my most hated tires, and they've done a lot to improve this tire by compound and the tread design. So it is actually a fantastic tire these days. Don't look past that one. Anyways, some nice things about the Versys 650 is the suspension. A lot longer travel suspension than on other bikes, so it soaks up and absorbs those bumps. The front suspension is adjustable. That is unheard of on a bike at this price point. It has the underslung exhaust there, so it doesn't stick up, doesn't get in the way of your luggage, so your luggage can be the same size on both sides. This one is in the green, and it is sort of a pearlescent colored. You can see the flake in it, really kind of cool. Maybe it's not pearlescent, I don't know. Flaked green? Whatever. It looks pretty cool, actually. The Barkbuster storm guards are really good for blocking the wind, because they're kind of a massive design, so they really shield your hands from the wind. So if you don't have heated grips, at least these will keep your hands a bit warmer. Anything else special about it? I think if I hop on here, talk about the windscreen a little bit. That windscreen looks pretty small, but it does a great job, because the rest of the bike shields the wind from, say, your lower body, and this just into your upper body, and that basically takes care of the rest of your upper torso, so you're not taking on that full gust of wind right onto your body. It keeps your head exposed, which a good part about that is you don't get the buffeting from a windscreen on your head, but you also just kind of get a full blast of wind under your face. If you have a loud helmet, it can be a little bit noisy. If you have a quiet helmet, it's no big deal. Actually, it's kind of preferable. Keeps you away from that buffeting. Little hand control here for your auxiliary lights, and nice big mirrors so you can see what's behind you. I really enjoy that. It's practical. May not be the best looking thing in the world as far as people are concerned, but it really is useful, especially in traffic. That's why this is my number one suggestion for a commuter bike right here, the Versys 650. They've changed the style a bit. It's a bit more street oriented now versus this bike, which is maybe a bit dual sporty. And I say that because it doesn't have a lot of plastic cladding on the side of it, where the newer one has a bit more. It's a bit wider. It seems like it's a bit lower as well. This one's a bit more upright. And as usual, we take these things around the parking lot a little bit and see how they do. And it's really no surprise at how well this bike will do at making U-turns. It's pretty high, so you can lean it way over. You can lean the opposite direction of the bike and really just make tight corners. Maybe easier than just about any other bike. And I'm sitting really upright. I wish I had a picture of how upright I'm sitting. It's almost like sitting in a chair. And that's really great because I can look around really easily. I'm not tilting my head one direction or the other. And that, for commuting again, is awesome. The next question is, does it make a great adventure bike? And I say that depends on how much, what type of adventuring you're doing. How much off-road do you do? How much street do you do? You know, are you taking a passenger? Things like that. And so, what are the answers to those? Well, it does make a great adventure bike. If what you're doing is a lot of street and then a lot of dirt roads, this thing handles dirt roads fantastic. It's got great suspension for it. And then it can handle the streets. You can take the highway. Does really good with that. And at a 650, it's not a massive motorcycle. It's a lot smaller. It's not as great for sort of your standing position. When I stand up like this, you know, the bars are a bit far back for the standing. So if you're doing some aggressive off-road riding and you stand a lot, you may find that this does not work that well for the standing position. You're crouched over a little bit, but you're also like you're holding yourself from going backwards all the time because the bars are pretty far back. And you can see how they have the bars set back so you sit more in an upright position. If I look down here, and you can see this neck comes back that way. If it went straight up, you'd be a little bit more straightforward. And then let's take it around the road and do some riding. For a 650, the power is fantastic. You'll find that on the Ninja 650 and on this bike that it's a 650 and it's got, you know, really good power. Lots of torque. And it revs out 10,500 RPM, which is pretty damn good. So I'm riding here and I put it in 6th gear at 54 miles an hour at like just under 4,000 RPM, 3,800 RPM. So freeway speeds, no problem at all. You could tour on this bike really easily. And you could two-up tour on this bike. It's got enough torque to pull you along and pull your passenger along with all your luggage, no problem. I love the luggage setup on this because it's narrow. And if you're a commuter, you can leave this luggage on, put most of your stuff in the back one, and maybe your laptop and things like that in the side. And when you're done riding, you can put one, I think 2 full-face helmets in that top case. Pretty cool. I haven't actually tried putting 2 full-face helmets in this top case, but I think I've tried it on one of these. And as a... I'm going to rev it out here a little bit. As a 650, you just can't go wrong. It handles really well. The compliment I get back from most of my customers that buy this bike is that they are blown away at how well it does in the back roads, windy, twisty roads. Most of them come back and there's no chicken strips on their tires because you can lean this thing so far over because it's got so much ground clearance and it feels so predictable that the confidence inspiration is just super, super high. So it's an awesome bike to build your confidence, do back road exploring, do those windy twisties. You'll keep up with any of the sport bikes on the back roads because they're bumpy. I think one of the things that we've been finding is a lot of our sport bike customers come in and they're just like, man, it bounces me around like crazy. And it's because their suspension's set up too stiff. So we soften it up for them because it's really not for track use. They're out banging around on the back roads that are really real bumpy. Well, on a bike like this, you got so much suspension. The top part of the suspension is super plush. And so it just soaks those bumps up. You don't even notice they're there. And then let's see how many complaints. So the complaints that I've gotten on this bike is once riders get to that off-roading point where they're saying, I want to do single track and I want to be able to bump up and over logs and go over big rocks and do more off-road type stuff, because the confidence in doing back roads is awesome. And so then all of a sudden they may get to the point where they're saying, I want to do more off-road. Well, I told you about not being able to stand up too well on this bike, and that really, you start leaning back too far when you stand up. And when you do that, you're losing traction on that front tire. And so for that type of riding, really you need a dirt bike or a dual sport that's set up to get you forward on the bike. And this is, so in some degree you'd say this is more street oriented, and I would somewhat agree, but it sure does well on the dirt roads. So I would say all the way up to the point where you're maybe getting in dirt bike territory, this bike does great. Handles and flickable is amazing, just super flickable bike, does really well. And we're going to do a pretty short review today because I've got like 6 bikes to review, and I'm going to try to get through some of these just to kind of give everybody an idea of how these bikes are at different things. And this one, around town, fantastic. Commuting, fantastic. Doing your, I would take this across country, no problem. And in fact, you've got enough room on this bike that taking it across country with a passenger would work too. I prefer riding a much larger displacement motorcycle if I'm doing cross-country tours. You know, if I had the choice, if I had one bike, this would be pretty good. And the reason I do the massive bikes for the cross-country is just because at 65, 70 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, they're really at about 3,000, 4,000 RPM. So they just putt along. And you've just got a lot more weight. And this is a pretty light bike. So freeways are good. Passing semis, you'll feel it a little bit. It's not as bad as, say, a dual sport or something like that, but you can feel some of the semis. But it's heavy enough, you know, it's around that 400 or close to 400 pounds. It's not 400 pounds, but close to 400 pounds, where you can get, and that's sort of the magic number for, you know, touring, because you pass so many semis, or so many semis may pass you. And once you have going by lots and lots of semis, it's nice to have a big heavy bike. Anyways, guys, this is the Versys 650 with its luggage. Great little bike.